much for doing this. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're so excited too. I wanted to start out. There's some things I wanted to share with you. Of course, we have lots of questions, but we're big fans of the book series. So Mike and I have read and or listened to the books even before the series began, and then of course we love the show. So we're already super fans. But I want you to know, and I'm sure you've heard this from other people. It makes me even more of a fan and excited that the show is getting so much notoriety for its inclusivity and for the good choices that it's making, and the representation of the Latino community. It's just, those are really great things to say, hey, this show I cover, look at what they're doing. It's awesome. And so that just brings a lot of pride and more, even more enjoyment to the show for me. So
I really appreciate you making that statement. It's absolutely true.
yeah.
It's one of the reasons that um, I'm sure my mother got drawn to the show. I don't know if
Hmm.
you guys know the story, but my mother is the one that put me onto the show for season
Oh,
one.
okay, I didn't know.
I didn't know that the show even existed. She was watching and she told
Okay.
me, like, you have to watch this show. It's absolutely fabulous. But I'm sure I might be putting words in her mouth, but I'm pretty sure that she got attracted to the show because there was a Latino number one, on the show
Yeah.
because of Manuel Garcia. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that's what first attracted her to the show.
Makes sense.
Um, and then when she saw that the show was like really well done and it was awesome, she thought I should check it out. And she was like, "You have to be on that show somehow, somewhere."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
go ahead, go ahead.
that was my next question is when I was thinking about what we wanted to talk to you about last night, I was like, well, we've talked to some actors and we ask about their auditions and we know how kind of how an actor goes about getting a job. And but I was like, I don't really know the process for a director. So I wanted to ask about it. But then I also listened to your great interview with Crisco the Kid Block
Yes.
Party. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Crisco Kid Block Party. Yes,
Yeah.
that was a great interview. And so you shared some there about the Netflix directors program. So I was wondering if you could share a little bit with our listeners. And is that a typical way to get into the directing field, or is it more of a unique experience?
So let me backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
Um, for new directors, especially directors who are female, especially directors who are, of minority groups, whether it be African American, Asian, Latino, whether it be from the LGBTQ community, for whatever reason, we have a harder time getting jobs and getting
Hmm.
started. But a lot of the studios, a lot of the streamers have great diversity programs
Okay.
that help not only educate
Hmm.
these up and coming new directors, but also guide them into like how to get a job, and how to
Okay.
keep going. And one of these wonderful programs is the Netflix Directors Program.
Okay.
I was very lucky to be part of the first class, so we were kind of like the guinea pigs of the
Hmm.
program. It has evolved into something even more wonderful, I'm sure. But for my particular process, it was during COVID. So
Okay.
we started in 2020. It was all through Zoom. And then as the entertainment business started opening up again, we were able to do some classes at the Netflix studios here in Hollywood, in Los
Okay.
Angeles, which was absolutely wonderful. And one of the things that they guarantee if you go through the whole program and you do well is that you're guaranteed an episode of television. For
Nice.
me, my first episode was on a half-hour comedy called On My Block, which
Okay.
I also happened to be recurring as an actor
Oh
for.
wow. Okay.
So it was the fourth season, and it was really. Some people might say like, "Oh, she had an insight on how
Hmm.
the whole story works and the whole production." Well, my luck, the fourth season we had all new department heads. You would think it would be easier for me, but I put extra pressure on myself because I knew these people well, as far as the cast and the crew and the writers,
Hmm.
especially the producer. And so it's like working for your mom or your dad, where you
Yeah.
just like want to do extra well.
Yeah.
And so that was my first episode of television. We got a spinoff, and I got to do another episode of television on the spinoff. But for Lincoln Lawyer, I did use the program, but in a very unique way. My
Okay.
mom told me about Lincoln Lawyer. She was
Mm-hmm.
really, really loving the first season. I had no idea that it even existed. As soon as I checked it out, I was like, oh my God, I love this show so much
Mm-hmm.
that I have to do something on it. My first instinct was like, maybe I'll be Manuel's sister. I'll audition for a guest star, or maybe recurring. If I'm part of his
Yeah.
family, I can just come in and annoy him every episode I'm in. It would be wonderful. That's me pitching myself still.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good.
um, but then it was really my family who was like, no, like think bigger, you're a director now. Like you should direct on that show. And I was like, oh, that's how new the concept of
Okay.
directing was still in my brain. It wasn't like the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that I thought of. And I was just like, God, it's such a good show. Am I talented enough? Am I capable? Like all these fears started coming in. But then I started to do some intel on like who are the executives that cover the show and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was a Netflix show, I got to a really important executive, and she happened to be female. Her name is Tara Flynn, who's
Okay.
awesome. She loves the show, absolutely had a lot to do with Manuel Garcia Rulfo
Okay.
being casted as number one. And she heard my passion for the show and was like, okay, I'm one of the people that you have convinced that you should be directing on the show, but you have to convince a whole lot of other people. And I'm like, game on, let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Just connect me to them. And so one of the other people that I had to convince was Ross Feynman,
Okay.
who
Mm-hmm.
works very closely with David E. Kelly. And as soon as I found that out, I got really, really nervous. And I had a wonderful Zoom with him where I got like super giddy and very nervous and started just laughing the whole time and talking the way I am now. And for some reason, he cut through all of that and saw that I could be capable. And he was like, okay, why don't we start with you um, shadowing a director? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that's amazing. Yes. And he's like, well, you have to convince Ted and Eileen, and you have to convince the director, obviously, who you're going to shadow. And
Okay.
so I have no idea how I convinced Ted and Eileen, but um, I had a wonderful conversation with Ben Hernandez Bray, who's
Mm-hmm.
done a ton of the Lincoln Lawyers and other wonderful shows. He's super talented. Came up as a stuntman first. He is Mexican American, born and raised right here in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So like he was really, really an amazing inspiration, not only like for how the look of the show and how it's set, but also like the crew loved him, the cast
Yeah.
already was enamored by him. So I was extremely lucky that he took me under his wing and let me
Awesome.
shadow him. And so I shadowed on season two, and I got to see how everyone worked and
Okay.
just like hoped and prayed every day, like one day it would be me on in that chair, but not thinking that it was going to be possible. I was just like, the show is so huge. There's so many directors that want to direct on this show. Ah, God, it's like, I don't know, it would be a dream come true. So it was one of those scenarios where it was just like every day I'm there, only observing, trying not to like exude any opinions.
Yeah.
But you know what? I know that you guys must feel this way. I started out as a fan, just like you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
So imagine, you're fanning out on the show. You know the show inside and out. You know all of these characters. You've read all of the books, right? You're probably more versed than I am as far as like story is concerned. And you're on the show and they're filming it and you're like, I have an opinion about that. I have an opinion.
Yeah.
So, part of what I think I had to, my first test, I think, was like making sure that I had the right attitude to be on set
Okay.
and that I wasn't giving like these opinions, but I was feeling a lot of stuff. And I did, want to just like every time an actor did something really amazing, I wanted to be like, yay,
Right.
great. Or,
Yes.
or every time something was like, oh, I have a question about that and whatever, because I hadn't read all of the scripts. It was just like those type of moments. And
Yeah.
then when season three got picked up, I got a call around, I want to say late November, maybe early December, and I got an amazing Christmas gift saying that I was going to have an episode.
Hmm.
And then I was just, everything else from there is this what you guys see on
Yeah.
screen.
And then for it to be an episode that was just stacked with amazing females, throughout the production, that's really cool. We talked to Isabella a little bit already about the episode from the writing side. And I mean, there's so much content in that episode, but there's just a lot of fun moments with Lorna. I mean, just what a cool episode to get, to do.
So cool. But imagine like the my first thought when I saw the script was like written by Dailin Rodriguez and Isabella Rodriguez, right? And my first thought immediately went to Dailin, and I'm like, uh-oh, the show.
It made you a
Oh
little more
man.
nervous.
So I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't always like, yay. It was just
Right.
like
Yeah, I get you.
immediate panic of, oh, this
I can see
lady
that. Yeah.
who I admire so much on so many levels. Like I want to be like her, right? And it's just like, oh God, what if I mess up? And then I mess up on the one that she co-writes? Really? I mean, I know she writes on everything and I know she has a say on everything on the show, but it's like, oh God, she put her name on this
On
baby.
this one.
And so immediately I started to work. As soon as the script was available to me, I started to, I must have read that thing 100 times.
Sure.
I probably knew the actors' lines. So annoying. I was off book. You know, I think
That's
there's
funny.
footage of me like mouthing as they're doing it, like going like because there's a rhythm to the show that I wanted to make sure was like going on as
Uh-huh.
I'm watching everyone do their brilliance, and then stuff just starts the way I direct is it's very collaborative. So
Hmm.
I start making sure, oh, does that edit well with the other thing that we shot, and I just start like trying to make a song out of it, sense out of it. And so
Yeah.
I really wanted to make sure that Dailin and Isabella were happy. That was like
Hmm.
the first worry. And then obviously a lot of other worries
Other
came
stuff.
after that, but that was the initial one. But I was so happy with the script, and obviously you touched a little bit upon the fact that it had a lot of Lorna in it, which I had been such a fan of Becky
Hmm.
Newton, and the fact that they let the tone kind of lighten up a little
Yeah.
bit, and
Hmm.
there was a little they let me kind of play into the comedy a little bit.
Yeah.
That also was very scary because I was like, oh gosh, I'm not getting like the regular set what everyone expects a Lincoln Lawyer episode to
Okay.
be.
Hmm.
This kind of, to me, I don't know what you guys think, but to me it seemed like a little bit of like, I don't know, maybe a much needed like a little bit of a giggle in
Yeah. Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
the end of the season, and it was kind of like maybe like a catching of their breath
Right.
before the big storm really hit him.
Yeah.
And so that was also really scary because it's like, how far do you let everybody go?
Hmm.
How far do you play into the comedy?
Right.
And so all of that was very scary, but now I'm so thankful for it because it taught me a lot about
Sure.
just directing in general, and
Yeah.
how to work with such an amazing cast and crew and writers and producers.
Well, you were probably already there, but I'd say you rose to the challenge for
Yeah.
sure. It was definitely a great episode, and yeah, we did appreciate that comedy because this
Mhm.
stuff touches on some heavy stuff in this season.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you got to have that here and there. So okay, what do you think next, Mike?
I just wanted to jump in with just a side question, not really one that we had written down yet. So when you first get the script, do you kind of write notes to yourself, like how you might want a scene to work out type of thing, camera, angle, shots, stuff like that?
So when I first read the script, I first read it as just pure enjoyment as a fan. I'm so
Mhm.
excited. I even get like an insight. I
Mhm.
feel like a little kid that's getting like a little
Yeah.
secret, you know?
Hmm.
And so my first pass is just pure enjoyment.
Okay.
And then my second pass is probably that panic pass where I'm just, you are absolutely right, Mike. I'm writing down notes of like, how the heck am I going to shoot this?
No.
Or, oh, I get this. I understand this. Or what does she mean in this particular, oh, does Manuel is he really that sad here? Or is he, it's like
Mm,
it's basically kind of like an emotional pass. And also
okay.
all of my like my broad questions of like something that I either don't understand because maybe it's explained in scripts after me,
Mm-hmm.
or it was explained in scripts before me.
Yeah.
And then so I start to do that, and then usually after that third pass is when I ask production, hey, can I have all the scripts?
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some productions are like, sure, here you go. They're very like, we want to. And some productions are like, no, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
everything's like
Okay.
really secret and NDAs. And so, but in this particular show, on this particular on Lincoln Lawyer, I was able to get all of the episodes before.
Okay.
And then I think while I was doing my third pass, they were still working on some scripts after me. So I wasn't allowed yet to read those. But I feel like towards the end of my prep, I did get 8, 9, and some stuff that I needed to make sure that I featured on mine that would play later in 9 and 10, I
Okay.
believe.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's fun.
some things, sometimes you watch a show and you go, wow, why did that director, like, while you're watching the season and you're on one particular show, sometimes there's like oh, that's kind of weird that they focused on that. And
Yeah.
then you kind of forget about it. Or you're like,
What does that mean? Yeah.
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
If it's
So
a scene that I'm thinking of, I jumped out of my off my bed and I was telling my wife, this is going to come into play
that's
later on.
right.
Mark my words on this.
Yeah.
That's
It's
right.
really
And
good.
I've gotten both reactions. I've gotten
Okay.
reactions with like, what the heck? And I've gotten reactions of like, is this why? And I'm like, I
Yep.
will literally lose any potential job. I can't tell you.
That's so funny.
But
That's
you're
so
right,
funny.
Mike. I do I make a lot of notes. My script by the time we're shooting, my script is so scribbled on. It's got so many colors and different like stickers, and I put pictures. I don't work well with my tablet yet. Like I don't do
Okay.
like scriptation or any of
Mhm.
that stuff yet. So I'm very old school. It's like on paper. So I will
Old
have
school's good.
photographs. On my phone, I'll have like videos of something that I
Yeah.
might have like inspired me for a particular shot or something. Where it's just easier to show like the DP, like, can we do like something like this?
Right. Right.
And they're like, oh, yeah, but better. And I'm like, perfect. Better is always better, right? And so like those are kind of like the things that you'll see in my script, and weird things too, like, oh, I on my particular script, I was just like, oh gosh, this made me laugh so hard. I I hope I get this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure it says something like, I'm sure I'm gonna get this performance, but boy, did I laugh out loud just reading this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or wow, Becky's going to kill this. I can't wait to see what she's wearing because I didn't see the outfit yet. So
Yeah.
it'll be things like that,
That's awesome. It's like a diary of your work. That's really cool.
totally,
Really cool.
totally.
Awesome.
Just one more quick one, just to kind of relate to that.
Yeah,
So when I'm reading the
absolutely.
books or listening to the audiobooks, I kind of place myself because I've only been out to LA twice, but there's, with Michael Connelly's words, he has a way of, describing what the area looks like. So I kind of put
Hmm.
myself into those scenes a little bit almost. Did you do the same thing when you're reading through the scripts those first few times?
I did, and I know that it's really Dailene has touched upon this, and obviously Ted as well, that they feel like Los Angeles is definitely another character in the show.
Yes.
It's
Hmm.
very important to capture LA the way LA is,
Hmm.
and going back to your initial point, Tracy, yeah, the Latino culture is super vibrant in LA. It's felt in LA in almost every
Hmm.
capacity, right?
Yeah.
But it's very seamless. Like people don't
Yeah.
go, oh, that was a Latino thing. And
Hmm.
like, it's just everyone just kind of knows that that's how it is and that's
Right.
how it's lived in. And so, yeah, especially when I heard the audio version of Gods of Guilt, that's one of the things where I was like trying to picture like, I wonder where this could be, or I
Hmm.
wonder what location. Like I just kept thinking like, oh, locations is gonna find something really cool for this or really
Yeah.
cool for that. Um, Obviously not everything from the book is can be put in the season or in each episode very specifically, but it does give you a roadmap of like
Hmm.
what Michael Connelly intended to tell, right? Like
Mhm.
what he wanted the story to be. I'm like such a big fan of the movie, obviously,
Hmm.
with Matthew McConaughey. He's such an amazing actor, and that was just like one of those movies that I was just like, wow, that's the way a character should be embodied, right? So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed his performance. When I heard the story behind Manuel's casting,
Okay.
which was basically that, yeah, although the movie was great and Matthew McConaughey, obviously that movie wouldn't be made with as the story goes, at least
Hmm.
the version I got, the
Right.
movie would not have been made had he not been attached to it. Because Matthew was having a
Mm.
moment at the time. So,
Oh, yeah.
and that was a big part of like getting financing and getting like a green light. So I totally appreciate that. But I really love that this time around, the powers that be,
Hmm.
whoever that is,
Yeah.
the money people, um, they were like, wait, but in the book,
Hmm.
he's half Mexican American, and so like we should probably honor that. That would be like a cool thing to do. And so I'm so thankful for that because
Mhm.
that's honestly like how he intended to do it in the first place. That's how he wrote it in the book.
Right. Right.
So those are some of the things that like locations, the way LA really is, which does have like a heavy Latino, culture influence, especially
Hmm.
Mexican American, and how this number one has been portrayed by Manuel has been like a really cool way of like revisiting all of those stories and making
Yeah.
sure that it's done the way Michael Connelly first intended,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so to me that was like really really cool because it could have been
Hmm.
really easy to say like, hey, it worked with Matthew McConaughey,
Yeah.
let's
Hmm.
not break something that isn't broken, right? Like
Yeah.
that does not need to be fixed. And so whoever thought, well, we're not fixing it, we're just like trying to really honor what they intended in the first place, I think
Hmm.
was really really cool.
Yes.
And it gave a chance for a brand new audience that maybe would
Right.
not have checked out Lincoln Lawyer had it
Hmm.
been another same of like Matthew, like my mom. Like I'm not
Yeah.
sure if my mom would have checked out this show, but because she saw Latino and she was like, huh, and he has an accent and he's like very authentic
Yeah.
and obviously charming and easy on the
Yeah.
eye.
For
Like,
sure.
and then it's like just a matter of fact that
Yeah.
he is of Latino. It has nothing to do with anything else. He's a brilliant lawyer,
Hmm.
with a lot of like real life problems, right? He's like, because of his brilliance, he sometimes self-sabotages and he has problems with addiction and he's trying to be a good dad and a good
Right.
husband, but sometimes fails miserably at that. But somehow, because he is a good guy inside, and
Hmm.
all of these women have had moments with him, of true, real goodness and like brilliance, they all kind of stick around and put
Yeah,
up
they
with
do.
him
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they help him. And that's also, I think, something that was really cool about the series is that they really kind of Ted and Eileen really emphasize and
Hmm.
really give equal importance to the female characters,
Mhm.
and that's also something that I was really like a big fan of.
Yeah.
obviously why I was like, ooh, I should be a character on it. They'll take care of me. But no, honestly, in without joking around, I very, very I'm just really, really glad that I got to direct that. One of my first dramas where I got to direct is obviously a Netflix drama,
Hmm.
uh, co-produced with A&E, who has David E. Kelly in there as a producer. It's just so many things come up for me, especially like a legal drama that's just so well taken care of. That's, originally written by Michael Connelly.
Yeah.
Like you can't ask for
Right.
just like every time I can't. I sometimes even stutter because I guess it's because my mind that can't even fathom that I got so lucky to work with such incredibly talented people. And then that every time I talk to fans or people that are really invested in the story, like yourselves, that everyone's so knowledgeable. Like sometimes I
Mhm.
get a little bit embarrassed if I don't know something because
Oh,
the fans really get in there and
Oh
get
yeah.
obsessive,
yeah.
which is really awesome. Which is really awesome because um there's so many things that divide us nowadays, and so
True.
many things
True.
that are like so like not nice. And I this is really cool to see like a show that can unite like all kinds of people
Hmm.
in that are just invested in like a good story.
For
And it
sure.
doesn't matter who's portraying it or what language
Right.
is spoken,
Hmm.
because sometimes his character does speak Spanish when
Yeah.
it makes sense, right? And I feel like a lot of fans, they're like, oh, we love when he does that
Yeah.
because it's so like I know a guy that does that, or I work with a guy that does that, or my uncle does that all the time, or my dad, or and it's like really cool. I
Mhm.
love that
Yes.
they let that happen as
And
well.
when Haley does it, it's so endearing because of their
Yeah.
relationship, and even
Isn't
Lorna.
it?
So I love it.
Okay, so when Haley does it, I'm just like,
I
oh,
know.
like
Yes.
I know that character. My daughter is that character. It's
Hmm.
like it's so nice.
Yeah.
My daughter's half Irish and half Colombian, so she totally can relate to that. Like,
Yeah.
just it's just so wonderful, and she plays it so well, and they're
Mhm.
so cute together, and it really gives
Hmm.
him a very endearing layer of like
Hmm.
gosh, I'm just trying to be a good dad, but it's like
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. For
But it's
sure.
really hard. But when Lorna speaks Spanish,
Hmm.
the way she just kind of just pays homage to the culture
Uh-huh.
is just, it's all of the things for me. I'm just it's
Yeah.
like chef kiss. I
Yeah.
wanna, I wanna hug her. I wanna shake her and laugh
Yeah.
so hard. It's like she's such a brilliant actress, and I'm such a fan if you can't tell. And by the way, she'll probably hate that I'm saying this, but she wrote me a note and she approached me at the craft service table at a moment where I really needed someone to be like, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just freaking out and being nervous for no
Of
reason
course.
because everything was going
Yeah.
great. But sometimes, you can have one of those moments at work where you're like, I can't believe everything's going great.
Hmm.
Something's definitely
You're
gonna
gonna
go
go wrong.
wrong.
When's the other shoe drop?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
so
so I went to
normal.
craft service and I was about to eat all my feelings. And I see her there and I'm like, oh man, I can't shove that big donut I wanted to shove in my mouth.
That's so
Because here's
funny.
this gorgeous actor. I can't do this. And she's just looking at me and she's like, hi. And she just like started with small talk and mom talk. And she really let me in to her personal world with her kids and her
Yeah.
husband. And it was just a gesture of pure kindness
Hmm. Hmm.
towards someone she really barely knew. And then towards the end of the production, she wrote me a card that was like really, really beautiful about how she loved working with me and how she sees me. And it was just such a lovely gesture. And she wasn't the only actor that did that. And I was just like,
Wow.
but her because I got to work so closely with her,
Hmm.
it really touched me. And she was I just want people to know like just how you think she is in the
Right. Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
and you want to be like her bestie. You're like,
Yeah.
God, I would love a bestie like
Uh-huh.
that.
There's
That's
so much more.
literally
Yeah.
so much more to her. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna dive into that if and when we get a season 4. I don't know
Yes.
about you guys.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard anything. I
No.
wish I did. Uh, we want people to watch more, but
Yeah.
honestly, they have to give her a lot more stuff because she's just absolutely brilliant. And I
Hmm.
just want people to know that she's like that character. She portrays it well because she has some of that,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
in real life. She is not a mess at all. Like if you think Lorna is a mess
Yeah.
sometimes,
Not
that is
Becky.
made up.
Hmm.
That is made up. Becky, I don't know, she has like a dozen kids or something. And she just like pulls it off. And I'm always like, how do you do it? And she's like, wouldn't it be boring without the chaos? And I'm just like, you are a special person.
I'm going to try and embrace that thought. That's a good one.
She's like, it would be so boring without the
Hmm.
chaos.
Yeah.
Life is about that. That's what life is about. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
yeah. She's like, it's about
Fantastic.
the hard work.
There you go.
So
What a pep talk. Wow. Love it.
yeah, she was great.
Why don't we talk
Excellent.
about number 4, Mike?
Number 4, jump ahead. All
I
right.
think that would, yeah, I want to hear about that.
Alrighty then. Hold on a second. How do your logistics change when you're filming a driving scene or have the road saints involved in a scene? We're just wondering about some of the extra technical aspects when vehicles are involved.
So when I first saw that particular scene, which is like the opener, I had all of these like very ambitious things that I wanted to do,
Uh-huh.
right? And I was just, and remember, this is my first drama, so with that comes more money, more toys, more technical things that you can play with, right? And
Hmm.
so I started asking for everything in their mother. I was like, can I have like 10 drones? And can I
Yeah.
the longest Russian arm you can think of? I mean, it was just like, right, no hold. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the worst they can do? Just like give me like half of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, you cannot, well, at least this is what I was told. And I'm thinking like maybe someone lied, but it was a good lie. You can use drones on the 101. And in my
Oh.
particular shot, he so if I remember correctly, in my particular opener, he is logically driving from downtown
Hmm.
towards Beverly Hills. Yeah, towards Beverly Hills,
Okay.
towards like the like
Community
right?
Yeah, the
center.
Okay.
assisted living. Yeah, yeah.
The assisted living. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you. And so he's on the 101, and that's
Hmm.
like a logical way for him to drive. And so I was like, oh, that's pretty. I would love to see downtown in the back, downtown skyline. Maybe we'll get, a little bit of Hollywood sign. It would be on his right if
Okay.
he's driving on in that direction. So yeah, I wanted a million drones, a million things. And no, that wasn't possible because you're not supposed to have, the city of LA doesn't allow drones on the 101.
Okay. Hmm.
And a particular arm that I thought would be great, which is like the picture cart, right? There's a
Hmm.
picture cart and there's like a long arm with the camera on at the end of the camera. And I thought the bigger the better, but actually that's something that I actually learned, that it's bigger is not always better.
Okay.
It's more agile if it's a little smaller. Like yeah, you
Mm.
might get more height,
Hmm.
but really, like the DP who was Moira Morel was really really patient with me and was like, really, is the height what's important, or is the mobility and the agility of getting specific pieces of the car
Okay.
driving and the way that you want to reveal the saints?
Hmm.
And then once she put it to me that way, that's when I started thinking, no, I guess the cooler shots is to be kind of close and then reveal
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
new
I liked
tricked
it.
out car.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking like, oh, like how, a Lincoln commercial is, where they'll start with like a wheel and like,
Uh-huh.
and then pull back to showing like the hood, and then pulling a little bit further back and showing, just kind of like simplifying a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of what really this opener is.
Okay.
And then I played around a little bit with sort of like revealing the saints from Mickey's perspective when he turns, and sort
Yes.
of like he does this turn where he kind of looks back and he's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, we have company now, or something. I
Yeah.
forgot what his line is. And so I wanted to kind of follow his gaze, and then through the back window of the vehicle, maybe reveal the front
Yep.
part of
Mm-hmm.
the saints. But then I realized, no, what's really cool about them is those patches
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
on their back. And so we did a couple of shots where we started on the license plate, and then you go through the bikes and just
Yes. Pull
revealing them
back.
and pulling back and revealing
Okay.
them
Yeah.
from the back. And that when we saw that, I think everybody realized like that's the cooler shot. And
Okay.
that's basically the technical aspect. I got to work with really amazing artists. We actually storyboarded that.
Okay.
So that because there were so many drivers involved and stunt people, and because we only had a certain amount of time on that highway, and those driving scenes really can take a long time,
Okay.
and you do want everyone to be safe. And even though it seems really simple, everyone around him is also a stunt driver, so nothing is like real, although we are in real traffic and we
Right.
do sometimes catch real traffic, but really the immediate cars around him are all stunt. And
Okay.
so because of that, one of the other directors, her name is Heather. She was working with a storyboard artist, and she let me in on her session
Okay.
to sort of storyboard uh, that particular piece, and it was great. That was
Yeah.
also a great learning experience because doing it like that, it really specified what shots we needed without
Okay. Mm-hmm.
without wasting any time.
Right. Yeah. I guess it's not
Great
as easy to.
question. Great question, Mike, because honestly, no one I think would ever expect that just for that little piece, they would have taken so much time and effort, and like storyboard
Right.
artists, and so much preparation and time. But yeah, anytime you see him driving anywhere,
Okay.
it takes a second. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of prep.
Well, because it makes sense. You can't just say, okay, let's take another take. Let's take a take from here, over and over, like you see so many
Right.
times with maybe a dialogue scene, on set. So yeah, that totally makes sense. That's very interesting. Yeah, I love learning about that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
the
But
details.
a lot of the most of his scenes in the car where he's the passenger
Hmm.
and Izzy's driving him, and they're having this like conversation
Right.
or whatever, that's on stage,
Yes.
which
Okay. Yeah.
also is a lot of technical stuff because the
Okay.
screens around them
Uh-huh.
have to match.
Oh, yeah.
If you so in other words, if I shot the car down a road, right, from the outside, just kind of like a master wide of the car of Izzy driving, um um why am I forgetting the main character's name? Please
Mickey.
help me.
Oh,
Mickey, there
Mickey.
you go. And
That
you
guy.
know what's so funny? On set, I was trying to be so conscious on calling Manuel and not
Right.
Mickey,
Yeah.
that I think my brain is
Hmm.
like, just say Manuel and you'll be fine.
Yep. That makes sense.
But Mickey, when Izzy's driving Mickey and it's a wide shot, you shoot that outside, obviously. And but those plates have to match whatever the dialogue is
Right.
inside the car.
Yeah.
So it's very cool how those guys actually work and match.
Yeah.
That particular. So there's a picture car that actually goes all around LA, um,
Okay.
recording these plates. so that we have options of
Nice.
where this scene could take place inside the car with those
Okay.
plates already shot outside. And
Okay.
so yeah, those were other things that, you know, I had to learn to think about as a director, where it's like, don't you can't just worry about the inside, you also have to worry about the outside and making that look real, because it always looked real to me when I was just watching as a fan. Imagine I come in as a director and now mess that up, which is like 80% of the show happens in his car. I mean,
in the
he's like,
Lincoln.
he's working it all out in his Lincoln, you know.
That's the name. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there was a lot of things to worry about, guys. I don't know
Okay.
about you, but I was having a heart attack almost every day.
It seems like a lot of things. Yeah, I'm super impressed. This is a lot of detail that you have to go through. Speaking of details, though, there's this little small scene that just made me laugh. It kind of anyways, when Lorna is talking, well, first of all, I loved her little catwalk in to talk to Sam Scales. I mean, that was just
Awesome.
priceless. Loved it, loved it, loved it. But she gets in there, they're having this conversation. She's going through his different aliases and she's frustrated and hears about this awful scheme he's done, you know. And then at the end, his hands are handcuffed. He touches hers. Por favor. I love that so much. Like the combination of the handcuffs, the shot, and him speaking in Spanish was just amazing. And so I wanted to know if that was planned exactly like that in the writing, or did you add anything to it? It was brilliant.
So the writing is absolutely brilliant. When that's one of those scenes that you hit the nail right in the head, Tracy. That's one of those scenes where I was like, "Oh my God, this is so funny."
Yes.
I hope this is as funny, you know, when we're there, when we're in the scene. I knew Sam was gonna kill it. I knew Sam's the actor who plays Sam Scales was gonna kill it because he's just really good. Like I've seen him in other things and I'm just like, wow, I know he's gonna be great. But I think what happened was that he laughed like us with the writing and he got inspired to play, and he actually played, if I remember correctly, different versions, and then we all agreed on that one version. Like I, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm looking and I usually have writers, like an on-set writer, executive producer in my village with me on set, and I think I went like this and they were like, oh, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one that keeps killing us. Like tell him to just keep doing that. And so I think that's, if I'm remembering correctly, that's what happened. And I think Becky was also like, oh my God, you guys saw that, right? Like that was crazy.
Those are some of the best moments. Like we were talking about needing those light moments, you know, here and there throughout the show. And it was
I think it's on. Like I think the writing gave the actors the permission to sort of go a little step further. And then if it was too much, we could pull it back. We could bring down the volume or the temperature, or however you want to say that. But like, I think this particular episode gave a lot of the actors permission to be a little lighter, you know, and because when you're most miserable, it's when you're trying to find some humor, and it's usually self-deprecating or desperate, and that's when it's the most funny. Because it's real life, you know. And so I think that I'm glad you touched that, because I really love that actor and he's absolutely wonderful. And honestly, it's like you can tell him anything and he's like, sure, yes, yeah, I'll try that. Like, okay. You know, and I did not have to tell him and Lorna much. It was basically just stay out of their way. And whenever it was like perfect, which was like almost every time, just be like, okay, just can you do that again? Please. That's sure, great. No problem. And I was just like, okay, come on, guys. You know, it was basically me just going like, thinking like, oh, this might not happen again. Let's do it again. Did we catch that? Did we catch that on any angle?
Mike has a fun food question. It's a poll that we've been doing with actors and writers we've been talking to. So
yes,
go for it, Mike.
So I don't know if you're a fan of the French dip sandwiches, but it's kind of a mainstay in the second episode of season 3 is the argument between Coles or Philippe's. So we've just been asking everybody we've been interviewing, which is your sandwich choice or preference between Coles or Philippe's if you've had both?
Oh gosh, now I'm like, why didn't somebody tell me? And then I would have had an excuse to go try Cold or Phillips.
Oh yeah, you do an experiment.
You guys, oh God, you guys, that's the only thing I'm gonna say. You guys did wrong with my interview. You guys should have sent me a little side note and go, look, in preparation for the
Right.
Lincoln Lawyer podcast, you have to try the French dip.
Yep.
And it's either going to be between Coles or Philippe's, and we need to know what your favorite is.
Yeah, we should have let her know.
My honest answer is I don't know, because I haven't had the pleasure of like going to eat it, because someone is trying to be healthy, you know, before the holidays.
Yeah. You can get back to us after you try, after the holidays.
I will.
We got the same response, not for eating healthy, but we interviewed. Sorry,
Alan
Veronica.
Alan
we interviewed
Morion.
Alan. He hadn't tried either place. He just said he said Philippe's because just to be opposite of the show. So
okay, well,
yeah,
now I'm curious. Which one have you guys tried them, and which one is your favorite?
I have not. Mike has tried one. He can vouch for Philippe's.
Yep.
Philippe's. Oh, Philippe's. Okay.
And that has been a popular answer, actually.
Oh,
so far.
So, okay.
So
well, I even wrote it down.
Yeah,
I wrote it. I literally wrote that answer down and was like,
there you go.
Try.
Yeah, try that one first. And Mike has a tip for you on that trial.
Yes.
Okay.
If and when you eat at Philippe's, they have a hot mustard and. Sorry, I gotta prep for this really quickly. Okay. So
he's got it.
Has a hot mustard, and they sell it by the bottle here. Okay, so if you ever go to Philippe's and get the French dip sandwich, whichever dip you get, they have like 7 different meats to choose from. Just a little goes a long way. If you're a fan of hot mustard, a little goes a very long way.
Got it. So it is caliente. It's hot.
Yes,
it is hot. Okay,
I just did a little dollop on my finger. The first time I had Philippe's, it was 3 years ago. So I just did a little dip with my pinky and tasted it, and it darn near cleared out my sinuses. So
did the room just go hot?
A little bit, yeah. Some tears started flowing. So yeah, it's Philippe's hot mustard, really good stuff. You can order it and get it delivered to your stove too.
And that's what we've heard from all the Philippe's folks is that, yes, they do like the hot mustard, but just go easy on it. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Got it. Okay.
Now I want to try it too.
But
had I known,
this will also be an experience for you after the fact, though, because then you can go try Philippe's, try Coles, and the next time we talk to you, hopefully next year after you've directed another episode, you can say, I've tried both, and this is the place I do prefer now.
I am absolutely going to do that, and I'll probably do it like before that, and then also to prepare for that interview. But I really hope everyone checks out Lincoln Lawyer season 3.
Yes.
I usually don't ask for feedback, but this time I'm asking for feedback. What do you think of episode 307, directed by me? Don't worry, don't hold back. I want the comments. Let me know.
Yes.
And everyone watch it and then rewatch it so we can definitely get a season 4, because that's how it works.
That's how it works. We all want that. So awesome. Well, so nice talking with you, and thank you again for your generosity of time.
Anytime.
So, all right. Well, you take care, Paula.
Nice meeting you both. I hope I get to see you in LA. Thank you for thinking of me, and your questions and everything was so much fun, and I really had a good time. Thank you.
We did too.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.